Welcome to the Blue Watch, your backstage pass to the lives of frontline officers and the leadership steering the way. I'm Chris Casto. Together we'll navigate the challenges, hear the frontline stories, and leadership insights from those behind the badge. Today we're sitting down with Austin Police Sergeant Ben Mewis to talk about leading a night shift full of rookies and running hundreds of miles for charity. Tell me about your most recent run.
Came up with the idea with Scott Baldrige, who's like my crazy running partner. And we were talking about runs that we want to do in the spring because we usually do one in March and then we do one in November. So we were kind of throwing out ideas and we came up with Enchanted Rock. And then we also like to try to do a charity that means something to us. And I had been wanting to do one for Austin Boxer Rescue because I've adopted 2 dogs from them in the past. So it's very close to me, like on a selfish note, and my family, because we had 2 loving dogs from them. So we came up with a route from Enchanted Rock back to the Capitol, like always, coming back home again, and then paired up with Austin Boxer Rescue, who thought it was fantastic. And they were like, plus, it holds so much meaning to you that I think this is going to be really cool. So it kind of just developed from there.
Yeah, I like how you call him like your crazy running partner.
Yeah.
Is it just because he's willing to run like these long distances with you?
I call him my crazy running partner because we're always trying to one-up each other. So, not only do I go out and do these runs, he's doing runs too. He's got a race coming up in May, the middle of May. It's called the Cocodona 250, which means he's running 250 miles through the Arizona desert in May. Now, granted, it's Sedona and stuff like that, so it's absolutely gorgeous, but it's still 250 miles on foot through a desert.
In May.
In May.
That's you're right. He is a crazy running partner.
Yeah.
I agree with you on that.
Yeah.
That's insane. What's like the longest distance that you've gone on some of these runs?
So as of right now, the longest distance that I've completed has been when I ran from the San Jacinto Monument back to the Capitol. That turned out to be 190 miles. So I broke it up over 3 days, which that was still a lot. I felt pretty worn out after that one.
Jeez. And you sleep in between some of these links?
On that one we did. So I ran 70 miles the first day, then went to a hotel, we crashed, got up the next day, ran 50 miles, went to a hotel, crashed, and then came back and ran the last 70 to get to the Capitol.
Oh my gosh. How worn out are you at the end of this? This has got to be like wearing on you.
It gets pretty, those past runs weren't too bad. This one with Boxer Rescue, I don't know why, really, I wanted to quit at one point in time, and I had to overcome a mental struggle between mile 40 to 60, which was several hours of trying to get over that. But yeah, that will wear you out. Like if you're feeling mentally on cloud 9 and everything's going well and you've got beautiful scenery and everything, obviously physically it's going to take a toll, but then when you have the mental challenge going on, that's really going to drain it out of you.
Yeah, I can imagine. It's like I've heard the term runner's high.
Yeah.
Never gotten there myself. I'll be honest. I've tried running, longer distances. I think the longest one I ever got was the 10K in the academy. So I'll tell you right now, I'd never gotten to the point of a runner's high.
Yeah.
But I guess, is that one of the things that keeps you going? Once you get that runner's high, it kind of helps you continue?
Yeah, it's like waves. You'll have your low points and you'll have your really high points, and high points are just amazing. Like you just feel like I could just keep doing this for hours, miles, you get to your low points and it's like I don't want to take another step, so it kind of goes in cycles. And then plus when I have sometimes the lowest points that I have or when I'm out there at night and then I'm by myself, because then it's lonely, it's dark, and it's like I don't want to do this anymore. But if you have somebody with you, that really boosts it and makes you just forget about everything else because you're so busy talking with them and it just flies by.
Yeah. And talking about having somebody with you, do you have like a team that kind of helps you during your runs, a running partner for a few legs of it at least?
I've been pretty fortunate over the last 3 big runs that I've done. So I got 2 of my friends / former coworkers from other departments that have come out and helped me. And then now Scott has been on every one of them with me. And he likes to get out and do segments with me. He's not crazy about road running, but he when we do these runs, he'll take periods of time where he'll just get out. He knows I've hit a low point, so he'll be like, I'm hopping out, I'm covering some miles with you. So I think he's gotten to the point, he sees me so much on these that like he recognizes like what I need at that time. So.
Well, you said that this one was a little bit different. In what way did you kind of feel like, what was the reason why you hit that mental block? Where did it come from?
I had a lot of people ask me that, and I honestly can't pinpoint it exactly. I do know that the first probably 40 miles since it was Enchanted Rock. It was all these country back roads. It was just amazing scenery, just absolutely gorgeous. And then we got to Highway 71. And then after having so many 18 wheelers and everything else pass me by, I was just like, I don't want to do this anymore. And I hadn't felt like this on these other runs that I've done. And it just went downhill for me. I mean, I wasn't trying to let it show to my crew too much because I didn't want them to get too worried. But I struggled all the way up till mile 60 to the point where I was like, there were so many times during that period I just wanted to get back in the car and just say, I'm done. We're calling it, I'm not pushing on any further.
Wow,
So,
that's like a full 20 miles of kind of hurt,
yeah.
I mean,
Yeah.
because you're just going just to keep going,
Yep.
like the Energizer Bunny the whole time.
Exactly.
So what was it that kept you going in that time? And what was it that kind of helped push you through?
I think that knowing that I've overcome these in the past, now granted, this is one of the longest stretches that I've had, but overcoming these in the past and knowing like, okay, I know I can push through to the other side. I know that I really want to accomplish this, right? Because I want to help Austin Boxer Rescue out. I also want, like, it was like a memorial run for my two dogs, and I didn't want to just give up on something that was like special to me, right? So, and then plus my crew is there, then I start feeling like, man, what a baby I'd be if I was like, I know I drug y'all all the way out here for this, but I'm just calling it halfway, right? So there's a lot of stuff that goes through your head, and it's like, just get up, keep putting one foot in front of the other, and just keep, as long as you keep doing that, you're eventually going to get to your goal. So.
Yeah, and then eventually you kind of got your stride back and you kept going.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It helped out too that when I got to close to, it was maybe a little mile after mile 60, we got to Travis County. I want to make sure I'm saying it correctly, the Pedernales, uh, Travis County Fire Station number 802. I'll make sure I don't mess that up at all. But they came out with the fire trucks and EMS was there. They had everything lit up and they're like cheering me on. They're like, come on, come on. And so got up to them and then was able to take a break, come in and sit down with them. They were all excited. They've been following the entire day, right? So like per se, it was kind of like meeting your fans, right? And sitting there just talking with them and seeing how excited they were, like that energy rubs off and then you're like, all right, I got this. I can keep going. I know I've got like another almost 30 miles at this point, but I can easily take this. So,
That's cool. That kind of gives you that, that emotional, hey, I can make this happen, that
yeah.
little energizer, yeah?
Yeah.
No, that's really cool. So, what's the most memorable moment that you've had during these runs? Like, what stands out the most?
So, I guess overall, I think about all the runs that I've had, the moment starting at the Alamo or, Scott running with me on like last year when we were messing around running through Bluebonnet Fields, and Brenham, getting to the Bluebell Factory, passing that by. You
didn't stop at the Bluebell Factory?
They did. My crew did. But I was like, I probably shouldn't eat a bunch of ice cream and keep on running. Yeah, they enjoyed it for me. In the last run, getting to the Capitol and having all the command staff and everywhere, most command staff and night shift, and of course Carlton the pig was there to see me at the end. But the best memory that I have, and this isn't involving one of these runs, but I've made it a goal. I want to run a marathon in every single state. So I'm up to 22 states right now. But the first marathon I ever ran was the Austin Marathon. And so my dad lived pretty close to like mile 23 at that point. So he came out to the aid station. I didn't know he was doing any of this. So I was feeling just like trash, but I got to mile 23, all wore out, and my dad was there. He had waited for I don't know how long. And he came up, gave me a big hug. My first marathon, I had one person there for me. And he was like, "You're almost done. You're looking great." I looked terrible, right? But he got so excited to see me, and like I said, I have no idea how long he waited for me to pass by. Now my dad passed away in 2018, so that's why it's a special memory to me is to have that when every time I run the Austin Marathon now, we pass by that aid station. I always have that memory associated with that.
That's awesome. That's awesome. That's a great memory to have. He's sitting there cheering you on, and I've worked, I haven't run a marathon, but I've worked the marathons in the past, and I know how long, like there's sometimes a giant gap between people who pass a mile marker from the first person all the way to the last person.
Yeah.
So I can just imagine how long he was waiting there to show you how proud he was of you.
Yeah.
That's an awesome memory. That's really cool. So tell me what started all this, the charity run stuff, and like you've raised thousands of dollars by now.
To be honest, I hadn't really looked at it. I've heard of other runners doing charities. When I decided to run all of Baker's sector, the area that I patrol, and that later got put on the news as like, hey, this cool thing, unusual thing happened. I actually had some neighbors that watched it, and they were like, I was waiting for the part where it said you were running for a cause or something because I would have donated right away. And then it made me start thinking, I'm like, if I can do my hobby and actually help a charity too at the same time, that holds a lot of meaning to me, then like I would love to be able to do that. So then the next major run that I actually did was from the San Jacinto Monument back to Austin for CASA of Travis County for the child advocacy group. And that was the first time I ran for a charity, and people just, not only were they like interested to see me do the run, but they were also wanting to donate to CASA because of all of that.
That's awesome. Bringing awareness to these different groups, like,
Yes.
Boxer Rescue of Austin, bringing that around while doing, like you said, it's just a hobby. It's something you would do anyway, just for fun.
Yes. Ever since then, we've been trying to incorporate it in, obviously something that means something to us at the same time while we're doing me and Scott are doing our hobbies.
Yeah. And you've had a lot of really cool encounters of, people helping you during these runs. I remember talking to you about one of your last runs. It was in November of last year.
Yes.
And we just lost several officers. A lot of things were going on at that time.
Unfortunately, we had set that run up already from Goliad to come back to Austin. We were running for Central Texas Pig Rescue. We had the events literally the weekend before, like the weekend before that Monday when I was going to start running, and we were trying to come up with a way to honor our fallen officers. So we just sort of came up with that idea that, when I hit certain mileage markers that coincided with their badge numbers, we would stop and take screenshots of the watch, my watch that said like, for I think it was Christie, it was 4729. For Pastores, 1997. You know, that got a lot of interest with everybody. I didn't know that people would start to follow that closely. And we had Caldwell County sheriffs come out. They came out with their patrol cars, and I was running on 183, and they were providing a rolling barricade for me, which was kind of cool. We had officers from this department do the same thing. Had a lot of people just follow along the way. And of course, on all these runs, we always get people that are just fascinated because they'll see us on the side of the road, and we always get the friendly Texans that come over like, "Are y'all broke down? You need help?" And we tell them what we're doing, and then they get really excited about it. So then they start following themselves.
Yeah, I noticed in the last couple of runs that you've done, the social media seems to blow up, and there's a lot of like update videos and different things where people are like, commenting, "Keep going."
Yeah,
So
yeah,
it's really cool. It's kind of like reminds me of Forrest Gump, when he's running across the world, and it's like everybody's like, "Oh, okay, yeah, sure,
yeah.
we'll join him."
It is funny to see, like, because from my perspective, like, again, it's just my hobby and something I want to do. And then again, me and Scott always come up with more ridiculous challenges for each other. But it is heartwarming to have people that get really excited about it too, and they're like, this is something cool, and I want to see how it ends, right? So it's amazing to have the positivity that goes with you, that like these people are strangers you don't know that are supporting you along the way and telling you, good work, keep it up, keep going, you got this, all the other stuff that, like, it means a lot to me as I'm doing it.
Yeah, no, it's an awesome work that you've been doing in raising all these funds for different charities, but also, I mean, honestly, God, just the amount of running that you do,
Yeah.
I'm blown away by it. You know, but on top of that, you're also running a night shift as a
Yes.
sergeant. You're very well respected by your peers, just so you know. You're leading a shift full of just rookie officers. To be blunt, they are rookie officers. What do you do to help these young officers? Like, what's your kind of process?
Um, I kind of joke that I feel like I've just become an official FTO for the entire shift at this point. And that means, like, so my style of leadership, which people laugh at me about, I think, even though, like, not trying to give me a hard time, but they kind of laugh because they know I'm going to be out there on the street, that I want to be with my guys. I want to take calls with them. I want to help them out, not as if to go over and micromanage them and just be like, all right, you need to be doing this, you need to be doing this, but show up and say, what can I do for you? And if you have any questions, I'm here as a resource, but I don't want to just like take your call over. It's that. It's also helping getting them training. Like, for example, tonight they're going to be doing pursuit training. We've had other stuff to come up. Family violence that's coming and talked with us. I got to get robbery lined up, come and talk with us to just go over the basics that I maybe take for granted because I've been here for 12 years now. Trying to also make sure that, like, what's going on in their personal life, everything okay, just not necessarily want to be their best friend, but just make sure like as a person they're taken care of all the way around.
What's the best thing and the worst thing that you can think about being a sergeant with such a young shift? Because it's a lot of it's very hands on when they're
Yeah.
that new.
The best thing is, and even though I love my senior officers on that I've had on my other shifts, I have no salty, jaded officers. So everybody comes to work, everybody's excited to go take their calls. There's no grumbling or anything to that nature. Everybody gets out there, they hit the street, they just try to go out. They're all excited to be here still. They're still in that mode, right? They haven't hit the curve where it's like they start to question what's going on, or like just the burnout cycle is what I'm trying to get at. So they're all eager and ready to try to just be out there. The worst thing is that because all 7 of my people have less than 1 year experience, and I have no senior officers on my shift, that whenever a question comes up, the first thing that comes to mind, the first solution is let me call Sarge and just ask him. So
Yep.
that's probably the worst thing out of that, which, to be fair, that just requires more experience on their end and patience on mine.
Yeah, it's just over time they'll get it. It just takes time to kind of build yourself up. I mean,
Yeah.
you remember being a rookie, like you said, 12 years ago,
Yeah.
fresh, Ben's out on the street. If you could go back and like give yourself advice when you were a rookie yourself, what would that be?
I think it would just be patient. Be patient overall. I see a lot of new people that are like trying to rush around. Like, I got to get to the call first out of every, driving crazy. Or, I get backlog like 10 different reports because I'm trying to get to everything else. And then I start forgetting stuff on this other, and you start making mistakes like that. It's like, just slow down, be patient, take your calls, but also don't get yourself so overwhelmed that, you feel like you have to be everywhere at one time, because it's not going to happen, right?
Yeah,
So
it's impossible. We can't help everybody.
yeah,
Can't be everywhere.
yeah. So that would be the biggest thing that I would tell myself, is to just slow it down a tad bit.
Yeah. Give me your favorite memory of policing. Just the thing that you think about and you get excited when you're going to tell it.
So I have to laugh about this one kind of, even though maybe it's gallows humor or whatever you want to say, but it's like,
We all have that. It's okay.
me and Blayler were riding together. Blayler was pretty new. I wasn't FTOing him. I think this was during the whole carbon monoxide thing. He got put in the car with me. And we went to the Austin State Hospital, and we had a call that somebody was trying to, stuck up in a tree. Like, we have these trees in the middle of the courtyard that patients would get access to and then threaten to hurt themselves or whatever.
Like, instead of a cat in the tree, it's like a person in the tree.
Right. So you don't. I think I was even telling Blayler, I was like, this is going to be a whole lot of nothing. This is what happens every day, et cetera. And we get over there, and as soon as I pull up, security guard just sitting there. He's like, oh, it's the same old, same old. And I'm like, all right, see what I told you, man? And so we walk into the courtyard. Well, it was not the same old, same old. It was all the staff had laid out all these mattresses around the tree. The poor dude had taken a piece of plexiglass from a window he busted out, and he had cut a major artery open in his arm. So he's gushing blood everywhere. It's blood all over the mattresses, blood all over the tree, blood all over him. He's just squirting out.
Oh my gosh.
And so EMS was standing there with us, and we're like, we're not doing anything because it's too unsafe for us to do anything with him. Now, it was me, it was my corporal at the time, and it was another officer with Blayler. And so the staff were like, do something, do something. And it's like, okay, I don't really have a plan other than I'm going up in the tree and I'm pushing him out. Like, that's my only plan, because I'm not going to just watch him die in the tree, right? I went up there and I took out the tourniquet that I had, and I started putting it on his arm and tying it off. And I was like, I'm pushing you out of this tree. And he was like, I can get down, man. I can get down. And I was like, you're going to fall into those mattresses right there. Otherwise, I'm just going to flat out just push you to the ground, because I'm not going to watch you bleed out. So eventually he like sort of just does a tuck and roll and falls out onto the mattresses. EMS and my partners and everybody else came over and grabbed him, and they started tightening the tourniquet and everything. And I came out of the tree, and then I slipped on his blood, and I fell all the way to the ground. But
Into a pile of blood,
yeah,
right?
but thankfully nobody saw it other than I think one nurse who laughed. But then she was like still happy that we got him. So we get him to the ambulance. The ambulance is like, we got to go now to the hospital. He's lost way too much blood. Ended up finding out that it saved his life. So that was the first time I ever really could see that I made that much of a impact with, saving somebody. I actually did receive the life-saving award. But the biggest thing was like, just talking to the dude at the hospital, he was like a lot more calm, chill. And he was just like, hey, I appreciate, He's just saying like, thank you. I regretted this as soon as I did this. So it was cool to actually be able to talk with him after the fact. And
Oh, that's awesome. I know sometimes people they take that step, they do some sort of suicidal action, and then they immediately regret it.
yeah,
And thankfully, this was a situation in which you were able to step in and help mitigate the fact that he made that decision, that
yeah,
bad decision.
yeah.
So that's really cool. What has happened in your career, throughout your career, that has helped guide your leadership style?
So this is the third police agency that I've worked for. I had a negative experience with my first police agency. I liked my second one, but it was kind of smaller, not a lot of room for advancement whatsoever. So coming here, having those to look back on, everything I've experienced here as far as seeing how different supervisors work, in my opinion, having one of the best supervisors that I model myself after her because of I was just so impressed with how she was as a sergeant, as a corporal, and then a sergeant. I've been through IA investigations. I've been to different types of calls, high priority calls, like ranging from just something as simple as helping people change their tires, or a bomb in a parking garage at a hospital, right? So it spans the whole thing, and I think all the experiences plus what I've seen and leadership here has molded me into what I am as a supervisor today. Where I really liked it when my sergeant, when she would hit the street and she'd be with us, and I know for a fact if we did, like, she wrote me up for a life saving award. I know if we did something excellent, she would be there to try to brag on us and want to say, "Hey, y'all did an outstanding work." I know for a fact if I did something that was out of line for any reason, like, she would verbally spank my ass in a heartbeat. Like, I there was no hesitation on that, and so I admire that because it was real. It was you knew exactly where you stood with her and
Yeah.
respected her. As far as my officers, I talk to them. I try to have meetings with them at least every month to say, like, how are things going at the job, personal life, if you want to talk to me about it. I know some people can be guarded about that, but like, I just want to know overall, how is everything going? Like, is there, and I always end it with, yeah, I know we can do 360 evaluations and everything, but I'm like, just asking you directly and not trying to put you on the spot. But like, I would hope that you think that I've been pretty receptive of everything. But like, is there anything that I need to address on my end, or that I need to change on my part, that would make the shift work better, or that I need to look at? Or is there anything that I need to do to be a better supervisor in general that I'm just not noticing right now? Because I'm not standing out there looking back at myself. So it's like, if y'all give me any bits of advice or anything to that nature, that helps me out too. So, because I always tell my officers, like, I don't ever want y'all coming to work and feeling miserable having to be here working for me. We can't just have a party the entire time, but I do want you to actually enjoy what you're doing and it being, worthwhile coming in every day.
Talking about your shift, it sounds like you set some expectations there. Do you let them know, like, hey, these are the goals, this is where I want you, especially with younger officers?
Yes, we've had different conversations about all different types of things on expectations. Something like, um, you know, if there's calls on the board, we have conversations like, I know they're probably not the most exciting thing for a new person because you're always wanting to go take the high priority stuff, but go take that call. The reason why that person called in, go take it and go help that person out. I don't want to see calls just sitting when I know that you have the time to go over and help them out, right? Flip side is, like, if we've been going nonstop, I don't need you trying to get so backlogged on reports because you're trying to make it everywhere at one time. Like, there's a balance. So those sort of expectations, knowing little things like helping evening shift out. If they're going in, try to go help them out and take call, by relieving them on stuff. Getting along with other shifts, which luckily, again, my guys are all new, so they get along with pretty much everybody at this point in time.
They're not jaded yet.
No, they're not jaded. Training, when we go to do that, I understand it's a training day, but take it serious and get something out of it, which I've been fortunate because some issues that have come up, which is why I had family violence come in, it seemed like they all understood it after that because it alleviated a ton of phone calls that I was getting. So it helped out a lot on that, and they seemed to get it.
You talked about this a little bit earlier, but talking about setting goals for your shift, but you have a lot of goals for your personal life. And going back to your running, one of the ones that you had mentioned was running all of the streets in Baker Sector where you work.
Yes.
But not just Baker Sector, right? It kind of expanded from there.
Yes. Yeah. It got to the point where I did Baker Sector. And then I was like, well, I worked Ida, so I'll run all of Ida because that was one of my sectors. And I lived in David, and I was like, well, I'll run all of David. And by the time I got done with all that, I was like, okay, well, I'll just run every street in Austin. So after 2 years of running, I finished running every street in Austin. So,
Wow.
yeah.
And we keep building new ones, so
Well, yeah.
we're gonna get you to run more, but
Yeah. The map's already been updated. I'm behind like 15 streets now, but but it was fun to see every bit of Austin on foot. So I'm born and raised in Austin. I grew up in Austin, so it was interesting to see all these neighborhoods on foot. That some of them I traveled on as a kid on bike or skateboarding or whatever, and then some of them like I've only known since working here.
yeah.
So
And to be honest, I mean, there's places in Austin that's like usually you see people running, but it's for a different reason.
yeah.
So, what's the most interesting experience that you've had running in Austin throughout all the streets?
So I first I got bit by a dog in Frank, which I wasn't expecting. It was an Australian Shepherd, and I went up and pet it, and then I started kind of just continued jogging down the road, and then it chased me down and bit me. So I wasn't expecting that. That got me a little more nervous on dog situation. When I was running Edwards sector, when I got to North Lamar and Masterson Pass, there's an apartment complex. There's a big melee going on outside. People picking up these lime scooters and hitting each other, and like 15 people fighting in the road. Scaring myself in Adams sector when I was running through some of the hills and neighborhoods over there in the middle of the night. Well, in the summer, so I was trying to do it when it's cooler, and almost running into a deer that was just standing in the middle of the sidewalk because I couldn't see. I didn't bring my headlamp with me. Had people try to sell me drugs at Rutland and Lamar right across from Gall's. I was running down Rutland to get to Metric, and at that bus stop, they all came up running up to me, and I was like, I don't know what's about to happen. But he was like, what you need, what you need, what you need? And I was like, I'm good, man. I'm just trying to get to Metric. Oh, okay. And so I could go on. There's a lot that I've seen in Austin just being on foot.
Does it give you an appreciation for the people that live in some of these areas? That's kind of their day to day. They see this happening every day.
Yeah, it does. It does really make you think on that point too, because you're as you pass through some of these areas and you're like looking around, it's like there are families that live here, and some of the stuff that they see on the outside, it's like I wouldn't last here. I would be looking for anywhere else to live but here. I know some people don't have the choice, but it can be. I could imagine it's pretty rough at times for them.
Yeah, I would almost take some of that back to the shift and just be like, hey, when I was running, I saw this.
Yeah.
And just keep that in mind that people live here, and let's help them in that time where they're at.
Yeah.
So, no, it definitely gives you an interesting perspective on the city of Austin. I'll say that.
Yeah. I feel like, again, maybe it's sort of born and raised in Austin, so I have that, like, this is my hometown, right? Like, I take ownership of this city, even though maybe some people are like, I wouldn't do that, but I love it. Like, this is where I grew up at. Like, the house, I was literally born in a house in Baker sector. Like,
in a house.
Like not at a hospital. Midwife came, delivered in a house, which some people laugh at me. They're like, how old are you? Was it a log cabin? But so, I mean, the city means a lot to me because it's where I'm from, right? So when I come to work and I see calls holding and everything, it means a lot to me to be like, let's go out and go help these people. Because they are people from, where I'm from, right?
Yeah, they're your neighbors. They're your family.
Yes. And so that's kind of what drives me at work. Yeah.
Oh, that's awesome. So what's next for the Running Man? What's next for you?
So right now, we are trying to plan it out, but we're calling it the Rio to Red. So we're going to start on the Rio Grande River on the Mexican border, the Texas-Mexican border, and in Laredo. And then we're going to run north on I-35 for 500 miles all the way up to the Red River on the Oklahoma border. So we're going to cross Texas on foot.
500 miles.
500 miles. Now, Scott is going to relay it with me. So we're going to be switching every few miles we're going to be switching up. But what we're running for on that, again, because we wanted to represent a charity that's close to us, is we've already spoken with them, and that's on board, is the Peace Officer Memorial Foundation. So it is for the fallen officers memorial on the Capitol grounds for all the maintenance and the upkeep and putting the names on it. And as well as they provide scholarships to the family members of the fallen officers. So we will be running for that this time as we cross Texas.
Oh, that's awesome. That is amazing. And that's going to be one heck of a run.
Yes.
That is 500 miles. Even if you're tag teaming with one other person, I would say maybe get 2-3 others to help you out on that one too.
Yeah, it's something we've been talking about, but again, Scott likes to always push the limit. He's like, we can get it done ourselves. I'm like, we'll see what happens. We still have a lot of planning to do before we start in November.
Oh,
So,
that is awesome. Shoot for the stars, man. That is
yeah.
a great challenge, and a really a worthy cause. So that's awesome.
Yeah, I'm very much looking forward to it. I'm already excited about it. I've talked to the chief about it, and we have ideas on what to do for our officers for APD as we get to Austin. So I try to not think about the miles too much. It's just enjoy it while you're out there.
Thank you so much, Ben, for being here, and thank you for joining us today on the Blue Watch. Please share and subscribe for more leadership insights from the front lines, and check out our website, thebluewatch.com. Until next time, stay safe, everyone.